What's up, guys? UFC 318 main event: Max Holloway versus Poirier for the BMF title. Once again, that Holloway won back at UFC 300 against Justin Gaethje, and now he's defending it against Poirier. And let's get to it. Main event, as I always start. Holloway versus Poirier. As I said, for the BMF title. This is every single Max Holloway fight it's not an easy pick. Like whether I pick him to win or I pick him to lose, it's usually a hard pick. And the reason is because for the past 5-6 years, Max Holloway has only been fighting the elite of the division, whether it's featherweight or against a lightweight. He fights the number one guy or the champion or the number two guy, but he's fighting elite guys, so it's not easy to pick on his fights because they're so competitive, and this one is certainly no exception. This is the third time these guys are fighting. The first fight was, I think, like 13 years ago, when I think Poirier submitted him in the first round real quick. And the last time they fought was over 6 years ago, back in 2019. There's no point in looking at those two fights and to use it as a guide to how this fight's going to play out, because, again, we're talking 6 years ago, 12 years ago. Like I always do, I focus my 90% of the time, their most recent performances as how their skills more up to date. And that's where I'm basing my prediction on this one. I am picking Max Holloway to win by decision, but not super confident, of course, as always, when it comes to Max Holloway. I would say I'm 60-40 that Holloway gets the decision. But if Poirier goes out there and wins again, as he did the last two times, I can't say I would be mind blown, because Poirier is a really good fighter himself, and he might just have his number, right? I mean, but no, officially Max Holloway by decision. Holloway's coming from getting knocked out by Ilia Topuria in the third round last time he fought. I think it was back October. A fight that I did pick Topuria to win by knockout. I know it's a little brag, because when I made my prediction, a lot of people told me that's not gonna happen. Holloway has never been knocked out. Gaethje couldn't do it. How's Topuria gonna do it? And if you listen to my video, if you watch my video, I had my reasons as to why I picked Topuria by knockout. However, I judge fights as a whole, right? Not just the way they ended. And if you judge the fight from start to finish, it was an extremely competitive fight up until the very end. Like, it was so competitive that some people had it 2-0 Holloway going into the third round. Some people had it 2-0 to Poirier. Some people had it 1-1. It was actually, that just shows you how competitive the fight was. And the reason why I bring it up is because we're talking about Ilia Topuria, right? About what is he, number one right now, pound for pound, or people are calling him the next greatest things or whatnot. And Max Holloway was giving him a fight. Forget about the result, right? Topuria by knockout, sure. But judging the fight as a whole, Max Holloway was doing really good against him. Like, Topuria's face was busted up. Well, not really busted up, but it was very red, because Holloway was landing shots. And again, so competitive that if you go watch it, round 1 and 2 were extremely competitive. And that just shows you the talent of Max Holloway, right? To put up a fight against Topuria, where Topuria usually just smokes guys, like he did Charles Oliveira and some of his other fights, right? Where he just goes there and destroys these people. But not Holloway. I would argue, out of all his fights, Holloway has put up the best fight against him, because even if you look at the one against Josh Emmett, which went to decision, it was a one-sided decision. I mean, that was a 50-45 Topuria using it as a punching bag. Credit to Emmett for surviving, but as far as, someone giving him fight and putting a fight against Topuria, I think Max Holloway has been the best one so far. And I think if that Max Holloway shows up, which that's what I'm counting on, that Max Holloway with that skill showing up, I think he's going to do a little bit more than Poirier and get him on the decision. Poirier is coming from losing to Makhachev, got submitted in the 5th round. Again, that fight is interesting to look at it because Max Holloway is not going to shoot for takedowns. This is going to be a 100% striking battle. And I just think that in the last 6 years, Holloway has become the better fighter. And it's a little bit better of a striker, younger. At 33 years old, you can argue Max Holloway is in his prime. I guess you can say he's towards the end of his prime, but still in his prime, versus Poirier, who is 36 and a half years old. You could argue he's towards the end of his career. And I just think Max Holloway is going to show up and outstrike him into a decision. If I had to say who has more power, I would say Poirier probably has a little bit more power in his shots. But I think overall the technique, skill, and now, again, in 2025, Max Holloway is a little bit better. And again, I'm using the Poirier fight that Max Holloway made it extremely competitive up until the very end where he got knocked out. So Max Holloway by decision, but not super confident. Poirier could very well upset. And I think it's a pick-em, actually. I think it's a pick-em, so it wouldn't really be an upset. Who knows what the line will be by the time Saturday comes. Co-main event, we have Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. When I first saw it, immediately, like every time I see a fight, I have my immediate reaction, and I was like, okay, Kopylov by decision for sure. But then I did my homework, as I always do, and I watched their last 2 fights. And Paulo Costa is coming from losing a quote-unquote split decision against Sean Strickland, but I don't know how that was split decision. I gave Strickland every single round except maybe round 4. That should have been unanimous Strickland, but judges are retarded. And I guess for a judge, Costa won 3 out of the 5 rounds, which is insane. I don't understand how a judge gave it to Costa, right, to make it a split, but in my opinion, it should have been unanimous Strickland. But judging, again, the fight as a whole, it was competitive. Costa had his moments. It's not like Strickland went out there and absolutely destroyed him or put a beating on him. Costa had his moments, and it was 5 rounds where Costa didn't seem gas at the end. Kopylov is coming from winning by knockout against Curtis. But in the fight, there was, again, very competitive up until the very end, where he knocked him out 4 minutes, 59 seconds of the 3rd round. But before that, it was a very competitive fight against a Curtis who I don't think it's that special. Like, I thought Kopylov would win that fight more convincing. So I watched both their fights, right? And I see Costa doing really good against Strickland, who, would you say he's a better striker than Kopylov? Even now, I want to pick Costa to win, but I'm going to go with Roman Kopylov also by decision. And this one, I'm even less confident than the main event. Like, I want to say 50-50, but I can't because I don't do 50-50. My official pick is Roman Kopylov by decision. I think he lands the better strikes and, pulls a decision. However, this one is one of those fights that I'm not confident at all. Like, not at all. If Costa goes there and wins this one, I might just put him, I might just put something on Costa to win this one by decision. That probably pays really good. But yeah, I just think Kopylov is a little bit the better striker, faster, I would say. Costa's kind of slow at moments. But they both, Kopylov looked like he had slowed down against Curtis in that 3rd round. So, and Costa didn't seem tired against Strickland. So Kopylov by decision, not super confident. This could very well be, Costa could very well upset. Even now, as I said, I want to pick Costa, but because I had Kopylov, then I switched to Costa, and then I was, let's go with Kopylov again. But Kopylov by decision. not super confident. Before that, we have Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. I'm not even going to take time breaking this one down for you guys. Kevin Holland should be able to absolutely dominate Daniel Rodriguez. I think he's a better striker. I think he's a better grappler, much more experience. Like, look at the name. I mean, Rodriguez, what's his biggest name that he's fought? Ian Gary Machado, which he got smoked, right? That's his biggest win, biggest, most powerful, most higher ranked guy. But look at Holland, this guy only fights elite guys, or for the most part, Vicente Luque, I'm not gonna count Connor Nelson, Rainier de Reeder, Roman Dolidze, Oleg Sijic, Michael Page, Jack Della Maddalena. So, and not only that, but he's bigger. He's taller, he has more reach. He has grappling, he has striking. So Kevin Holland, I'm gonna go with the hardest thing for me was to pick how I think Holland is gonna win. And I'm gonna go officially Kevin Holland submission round 1. Could very well a TKO as well, but I'm going by Holland by submission round 1. And then before that we have Dan Ige versus Patricia Pitbull. Patricia Pitbull is coming from losing to Yair Rodriguez in a very one-sided fight. Rodriguez, he didn't put a beat down on him, as in he didn't like break his face or anything, but it was 30-27 unanimous, where Pitbull had nothing. He was just backing up the entire time, and Yair landed. He had a takedown here maybe, but he did nothing with it. A little takedown in the second round, but overall, Yair Rodriguez dominated that fight with the striking and pulled a decision. He's fighting Dan Ige, who's coming from beating Sean Woodson by knockout in the 3rd round. Another fight that I picked, if you go watch my video, I picked Dan Ige to upset on that fight. I think I picked him by decision, and he won by TKO round 3. A lot of people were upset. They were saying how the fight should have not been stopped, that Sean Woodson was going to win, and I'm like, bullshit. Even if the fight would have not been stopped, I had it 2-0 going into the 3rd round, Ige, and Ige was winning that 3rd round with that knockdown. So even if the ref would have not stopped it, he was clearly winning the 3rd round, Ige was. And again, go watch it. I had it 2-0 going to the 3rd round. So yeah, no, I think Ige was on his way to pull a decision had the ref not stopped it. And again, it was an upset that I picked. I'm picking Ige again. I'm going to go by TKO. Could very well be a decision, but Ige has shown power. He's shown that he's a really good striker, most recent his Woodson performance. And Patricia Pitbull didn't look like nothing against Ray Rodriguez. So give me Dan Ige by TKO round 2. Could very well be a decision as well. And before that, we have Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber. The one fight, so Daniel Zellhuber is coming from fighting Stevan Ribovic, winning by decision. He lost by split decision, and I can see why. It was a very competitive fight. I think Zellhuber would have won if it wasn't because for that 3rd round where he was almost finished. It wasn't a badass fight. It was fight of the night. Very competitive, back and forth. Reason why it was split. Striking battle for all 15 minutes, where Zellhuber showed very good managing of distance and very educated striker. He's fighting Michael Johnson, who is pushing 40. Johnson's coming from knocking out Arman Asaitar. I was not able to watch that fight. I just saw it, the highlights of it, where Michael Johnson dominated and KO'd him in the 2nd round. I'm out of time here. I can't pick Johnson, man. 40 years old. I just think Zellhuber at 26 and what he showed against Ribovic is going to be a little bit more sharp and get a decision. I do give Michael Johnson a very well-deserved puncher's chance, though. Don't be surprised. So I have Max Holloway by decision, not super confident. Roman Kopylov by decision, not confident at all. Kevin Holland by submission, round 1. Dan Ige by TKO, round 2. And Daniel Zellhuber by decision. I give Michael Johnson a puncher's chance. And I have Marvin Vettori upsetting. I think he keeps the fight standing and he wins a striking battle by decision. All right, guys, have a good one.